Good morning, New Orleans. Wake up, wake up. Happy Friday. We made it to the end of the week, y'all. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer, Naira Sanders, is behind the glass holding us down. And wherever you're OT, we miss you over here. Listen, welcome to the end of the work week. I wanted to start out by telling you how dynamic the show is going to be this morning. At the 7:20 hour, we're going to talk to Keith Plessy. It'll be all about reconstruction. There will be a historical marketplace underneath the Claiborne overpass at Claiborne Avenue and St. Bernard Avenue to honor the incredible Black entrepreneur hotspot that was Claiborne Avenue. And at the 8:20 hour, we're going to talk to Congressman Benny Thompson and Congressman Cleo Fields, all about community, legacy, and the cultural significance of HBCU football. So if y'all want to talk to the congressman about all things, listen, we mentioned HBCU football yesterday, but no better way to follow it up than talking about the historical impact of HBCU football. But this morning, we're going to lead in with a story we were talking about yesterday regarding the United Healthcare CEO who was, for all intent and purposes, assassinated basically on the streets in broad daylight. It was morning time, and then right after that, we had noticed that Blue Cross and Blue Shield would not cover the entirety of anesthesia when people are under, and so they've since reversed course. I don't know what it was. The article says it was about a bunch of backlash from the anesthesiologist community, rightfully so. So they've reversed course on that, and as of today, they've backpedaled on not wanting to cover the full duration of anesthesia during medical procedures. So that is good news. I don't even know why we had to venture off into that space anyway, but the good news is they've reversed course on that. And in terms of the CEO, the United Healthcare CEO who was killed, they've now gotten a picture of the gunman without the face covering so that you can see his entire face, eyes, nose, mouth. He's even smiling in the picture that they put out. I'm assuming they pulled it from surveillance at like some spot that he was patronizing, and they caught him without his mask on. So hopefully it won't take long before they actually identify who this person is. There's even some news out that the bullets he used were marked with specific words. So they're not clear if this was some sort of paid for hit or if this was some disgruntled employee or if it was a disgruntled person whose coverage didn't pay out. They're not certain. They're making a lot of assumptions. But what we do know is there's a gunman, there's a victim, and now there's a face to the person who actually pulled the trigger. And they are now saying that the bullets recovered from the scene actually had words on each bullet. And so it just sounds like something off of a movie. And it's perilous times we're living in when people believe that that is the only way to settle whatever grievance they have with a person. So as I said yesterday, our thoughts and prayers go out to his wife and his two teenage children that he leaves behind. It's such an unfortunate situation. But for better or worse, it's I don't know, you just don't have the words when people do the unthinkable, like what was going on in his mind. It seems like a great deal of planning went into this this attack because the guy had like a schedule that wasn't known by many folk. He was early to the conference. The conference wasn't even scheduled to start for another hour. And so it seems like maybe he stalked him and maybe he just was like following his every move to be at the same place at the same time with him that time of morning. So that is the update regarding the United Healthcare CEO who was gunned down as he was headed to a conference. That's also the update regarding Blue Cross Blue Shield not wanting to cover the entirety of anesthesia while folk are having surgery. So as of now, the insurance company hosts plan to put time limits on the coverage for anesthesia during surgery. So shout out to the anesthesiologist community who stood up against something that was, sickening by all measures. And so, listen, I always want to give you updates when I talk about stories, and we have to end them. So that is your update. And as you guys know, tomorrow is election day. There are four amendments on your ballot. We had former Senator John Johnson here yesterday explaining to us what the implications or the impacts of our yes and no votes would mean. You could also go to think504.com or parlouisiana.org and read it for yourself. The former senator's advice is to vote no on all amendments if there is some confusion or some misunderstanding of what you're reading, with the caveat that Amendment 1 and Amendment 4, he's absolutely saying no to. Amendment 1 and Amendment 4. Some of our callers called yesterday. Miss Alicia Plummer and Reverend Calhoun called in, and they were emphatically against all four of the amendments. But of course, again, you can go to think504.com or parlouisiana.org and read those amendments for yourself. It'll tell you what your no vote means and what your yes vote means, and then you make an informed decision for yourself. Tomorrow is the day. We also have a very important, very critical school board race that will be decided tomorrow to satisfy the last seat for the New Orleans Public School Board. And as you know, the NOLA PS is looking for a permanent superintendent, and that person will have a vital vote, a critical vote, in determining who our next superintendent will be. Our outgoing superintendent is Dr. Avis Williams, and right now her successor is her number two person, Dr. Fatima Fulmore. She's filling that interim position until we seat a permanent school board superintendent. And so please make certain that you look at both candidates. If you're in District 2, look at their records, decide for yourself who will best represent our children and families in New Orleans, and cast your vote in the best interest of your children and your children's education. So please be mindful that we do have an election tomorrow. I know many folk are anticipating a low turnout because it's like an off election. There are no big ticket races, but I will implore you to believe that the school board race is a big ticket race, and we need to make certain that we turn out and vote, and make certain that you vote. There are four amendments, have really strong implications. Please make sure that you educate yourself on what those amendments entail, and so that you can have a more informed vote. And again, you can go to think504.com or parlouisiana.org and read it for yourself. Take some notes so that you can have it with you if you need to remind yourself of what is actually on the ballot, and cast your ballot in the best interest of your community and its children. Also, this month on the 16th, December 16th, the New Orleans United Front will have their monthly meeting to keep the public informed. This month's meeting is focusing on your wish list for the community, whether it be better housing, better wages, whether it be a laser focus on crime, whether it be equitable spending for different parts of this community. Whatever your wish list entails, the New Orleans United Front is asking you to bring your thoughts, bring your questions, bring your comments to Cafe Istanbul on December the 16th at 5 o'clock p.m. I don't know why I'm trying to roll back to Thanksgiving when I know I'm excited about what Christmas is going to bring. So, pardon me, the date is December 16th, 5 p.m., Cafe Istanbul. Bring your wish list, share it out. Hopefully there are some community leaders who are in the place to hear your concerns and make certain that your concerns are not only heard but answered. And I'll be your moderator. If you have questions, please bring them, comments, concerns, bring them, put them on the table, so that as a community we can ask for and demand the things that we want to see in the new year for the city of New Orleans. And so I'm very excited about that meeting, because there's an opportunity for the community's voice to be heard. Very, very excited about that. And so listen, the conversation we were having yesterday about HBCUs are so important now because we're going to talk to our congressman about the legacy and cultural significance. But I ended the show talking about the value that we place on our own institutions and making certain that our children understand what that value is. So when they're searching for a place to take their talents to, HBCUs can and should be in the conversation. I will dare to say that you are the sauce, and wherever you go, you're going to bring the viewership. You're going to bring the coaches. Shout out to all of the former NFL coaches who are now looking to up our children's value by coaching at institutions that are considered smaller places to be. As you know, Deion Sanders was at Jackson State, and from Jackson State, he's now at Colorado. And so Eddie George is over at Tennessee State. Like, they're making intentional efforts to go to places that might not always be in the conversation. But if we go there, then those schools become a part of a bigger and larger conversation. Shout out to the high schools, our local high schools, who are in playoff contention for Superdome play. The Edna Card Cougars will play tonight against Baton Rouge Catholic. I do know John Curtis is also still in the playoff race. I believe they're playing Acadiana, I believe. Don't quote me. So if you can lend your support to either of the local schools who are still vying for championship contention, please do so. We should all get behind any school from New Orleans that is still in the race and push them to the finish line. And so shout out to Edna Carr, shout out to John Curtis. Hopefully y'all can meet up in the Dome and we can settle this once and for all. We have to go to break, y'all, but on the other side of the break, we're going to talk to Keith Plessy about reconstruction, about the historical marker being placed at Claiborne and South and St. Bernard Avenue. Stay with us right here this morning on the Good Morning Show, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Hey, this is D. Riley from the 90s Hits R&B Jams. Make sure you listen to WBOK 1230 AM every Saturday night from 7 until 9 p.m. I'll be giving you the best R&B jams from the 90s. That's right, all your favorites and more. With me, D. Riley, your host of the 90s Hits, right here on WBOK 1230 AM, or listen online at WBOK1230.com. WBOK, the station you listen to longer.
Good morning and happy Friday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. It is a cold start to the day, prompting New Orleans to activate its citywide freeze plan. Officials have opened shelters so the unhoused population have a warm place to stay. Those shelters are open through 6 p.m. Monday, accepting anyone who needs a roof over their head. And happening today, Orleans Parish officials will inspect voting machines ahead of tomorrow's congressional general election. They will then be moved to polling locations across the city. Some races on the ballot this go-around include several constitutional amendments, an Orleans Parish School Board runoff race, a meet mayor, and council seats in Bogalusa. The polls are open tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the wait is almost over for the third annual Children's Hospital Holiday Parade. This year's celebration will feature a longer route, 30 floats, high-flying balloons, and so much more. The fun gets rolling at 11 a.m., and if you can't make it down to the parade route, you can watch all of the action live on WDSU starting at 10:30 a.m. Then Saturday night, consider crossing the river to Algiers Point, where a 30-foot bonfire made from 6 tons of wood will burn bright. Families are invited to stop by from 4:30 to 8 p.m. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day and an even better weekend.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
Hi, this is Congressman Troy Carter. I ask that you join me in voting for Eric Doc Jones for Orleans Parish School Board District 2. Eric Doc Jones is a career educator with whom I've had the pleasure of working together on many issues of importance for our community and is ready to serve as our next school board member on day one. I proudly endorse Eric Doc Jones for Orleans Parish School Board District 2. Eric Doc Jones is number 12 on the ballot.
Paid for by the committee to elect Eric Doc Jones, number 12.
You know we all love a surprise, like finding a 20 in your coat pocket. But nobody wants a surprise from the flu or COVID. If you're 65 or older, flu and COVID vaccines are your best defense against severe illness this fall and winter. These vaccines also cut the chances that you'll be hospitalized in half. Keep your surprises this season all good. Risk less, do more. Get started at vaccines.gov, paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is Andronika Morris, host of Put Housing First. Join us every Tuesday at 12 o'clock, where we will discuss how housing affects every aspect of our lives and what's necessary, what's needed to guarantee housing for all. Join us every Tuesday at 12 o'clock as we dig down deep onto the issues that affect all of us.
Are you passionate about community safety and police accountability? Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Get the facts and stay informed. We're breaking down complex issues, highlighting community voices, and holding people behind the badge accountable. Join us for an informative hour every Friday at noon on WBOK. Your city, your police, your show. The Monitor's Mic.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Hi, this is Jeff Thomas wishing you happy holidays.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Host Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer Nyron Sanders is behind the glass holding us all together, but in studio right now we are jumping into conversation with Keith Plessy, the president and co-founder of the Plessy and Ferguson Initiative, and Sierra Chenier, writer and historian. They're here to talk to us about a historical marker being placed underneath the Claiborne overpass at Claiborne Avenue and St. Bernard Avenue to honor the incredible Black entrepreneur hotspot that was Claiborne Avenue. Good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you feeling, Mr. Keith?
Oh, I'm feeling great.
Like this weather, 37 degrees.
I didn't even realize it until I went outside.
I don't even care because my feet going to be out. I try to tell folk. And how about you? How are you doing, Sierra?
I'm good.
You look good.
Thank you.
Well, listen, thank y'all for being here. I think this conversation is a must-have. I believe that corridor is very significant to the very institution that is New Orleans. I don't think we can talk New Orleans without talking about that fiscal corridor that is Claiborne Avenue. So can you tell us more about the Plessy and Ferguson initiative and the important work you're doing to educate and engage New Orleans communities in understanding their shared history?
Well, the Plessy and Ferguson initiative is a nonprofit that is seeking social justice, racial healing. And we started a long time ago, around 2009. We've been around for about 15 years. And one of our missions was to mark areas in the city. And what we're coming up on tomorrow is a culmination of a dream that happened, I would say, in 2009 when Arthur Keith Weldon Medley first thought about putting markers up around the city to remember our Black culture and history and our civil rights importance in the United States. And, you know, his motto was that if we didn't put up any markers after Hurricane Katrina in the city of New Orleans, that it would seem that Black people never existed here because there were not enough markers around them.
Listen, or not just existed, but you won't be able to understand Black folks' contributions to this city. We built it brick by brick, right? And we have to do everything that we can to preserve not only her current state, but her past as well, so that we can bring the future to our children. I think understanding education is the foundation for understanding a lot of our city's ills. And for folk who don't know, can you just give us and touch on the significance of the name of it, Plessy v. Ferguson? We all know what that's about, but there may be some listeners who don't. What's the significance of naming the foundation or the initiative after the Plessy v. Ferguson case?
Well, I am a fourth generation descendant of Homer Plessy, the gentleman who was arrested on the train in 1892 and brought the case all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1896 with the help of a citizens committee here in New Orleans. And pretty much what we see with the Autocrat Club, like benevolent organizations like that, were existing around that time and helped them to bring his case all the way from the New Orleans case to a U.S. Supreme Court case. And the devastating result of the case was he did not win. Mm-hmm. And separate but equal became the law of the land, and segregation ruled. And what the Citizens Committee did was lay the groundwork for the NAACP, the Niagara Movement, which was before the NAACP, and members of that group were actually part of that group that continued to do the work and fight separate but equal to remove it from the books. And the other side of that case, Ferguson, Judge John Howard Ferguson, wasn't even from New Orleans. You know, you think that it was a local case, but he was from Martha's Vineyard. And he migrated here right during the Reconstruction era, right around the Civil War. And his descendant, Phoebe Ferguson, is my partner. And he ruled against my ancestor in 1896, 1892. But our organization came together through that author I mentioned earlier, Keith Weldon Medley. His book, We as Free Men, taught us about our ancestors where books were limited and information that I didn't have for a long time in my life came along when I met Keith Weldon Medley. So he taught me a lot about my family. Also, Phoebe Ferguson learned. And then when we met at his book signing, we decided to become friends. And as a result, when I met her, I walked up to her to shake her hand, and she shook my hand. I introduced myself, and she introduced herself. And I said, well, you know, she started apologizing for history, talking about, you know, slavery, segregation, and she felt so bad about it. And I said, well, it's no longer Plessy versus Ferguson. It's Plessy and Ferguson. So okay. I had no idea. I was stating at the time what we were going to become. But we evolved later as the Plessy and Ferguson Initiative when we got a pardon for Homer Plessy's charges by Governor John Bell Edwards, which was in 2022. And as a result, what we got was attention from international groups like Search for Common Ground. who is now our partner in this market that's going to be revealed tomorrow. And what Search for Common Ground did was awarded us a World Peace Award for getting that pardon for Homer Plessy. And we began to talk to them, and they started this grant that we now have. So I'm taking it a little further than just Plessy and Ferguson. But that's where we are right now, where we've been working with these folks.
Well, congratulations for the gains that you've made. So, Ciara, as a writer and historian, from your purview, what is the significance of the December 7th event in context of the Reconstruction program, and why is it important to honor Claiborne Avenue's history?
Claiborne Avenue is just so crucial to the identity of New Orleans. I think of it as an artery that goes straight through. And when you think about this being, the most successful Black commercial district in the Southeast and the largest, single strain of oak trees in the country, it's something that's important. How many times are we under that bridge? And how many times do, this might not necessarily be common knowledge to everybody, so it's important to have these physical reminders. We talk about it. I learned about the history of Claiborne Avenue from my grandmother. Mm-hmm. But these are things that when you cross St. Bernard and Claiborne, and when we're under this bridge for a second line and we're driving down Claiborne or whatever, it's so important to know what our contributions have been. I feel like, memorializing and preserving our history and telling our own stories are crucial to understanding our value and knowing who we are and who we have been, and also knowing what you have to protect going forward.
And just as you said, you learned that history from your grandmother. A lot of the times, as you also stated, Mr. Keith, we don't have the books, but our ancestors, our living ancestors, and those who have gone and passed on, if we do a better job of cultivating that history from them before they transition from us, they are the walking textbooks for us. They have information that textbooks probably won't hold. But we can't let them continue to go to the grave without sharing that information and putting it inside of us so then we can put it inside of our children. And I think you made a point of saying we might not understand the relevance of Claiborne, but there's an energy when folk come together for a second line that they probably don't even understand. That's ancestral energy. That brings
cultural memory.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's like being at Congo Square. You don't know why you commune there. You don't get it. Mm-hmm. But your ancestors are pulling you there. You gravitate toward, and you just feel a sense of, I know I do. I feel a sense of connectivity with other people who look like me when I'm standing on that sort of sacred ground. And I think that's why I love and protect New Orleans so much in terms of the words we use to talk about her, right? This is not NOLA to me. This is New Orleans. NOLA is no relation to us. That's not even our kinfolk. I don't know where it comes from, but I think there's a concerted effort to push out the history of who we are and where we come from to kind of reinvent it for something else. Yeah. So I thank you for what you're doing. I thank you for what you're doing to keep New Orleans alive, because if not for us bringing it to the next generation, it will die. And they won't know the significance of the Claiborne artery, as you call it. They won't know the historical history of Treme or even Algiers. There's so much history in New Orleans that we don't get to hear about, we don't get to read about. But if we don't impart that into our children, it will go away. Or we will allow NOLA to rewrite what New Orleans once was, right? Mm-hmm. So the historical marker being unveiled will highlight Claiborne Avenue as a Black entrepreneurial hub. Can you describe what Claiborne Avenue meant to the Black community in New Orleans before the I-10 overpass?
Well, I can directly speak to that because I grew up in the 1900 block of North Claiborne. And I was a child during that time. I was born in 1957. Mm-hmm. So the Interstate Expressway Act, I think it was, of 1956 came about a year before I was born. And as a child growing up in the 7th Ward, I watched them tear those trees out. And I watched them dig the holes for the foundation of the bridge. And we played as children, we played in the holes. So it was a horrible experience, but as children, you don't take it like the adults felt it at that time because you had homes displaced. You had 300 or more businesses removed. You had, which those oak trees served as like a shelter for us and a park right outside your door, and they ripped it right from under us.
So Sierra, how do you believe the construction of the I-10 overpass impacted the Claiborne Avenue corridor, and what lasting effects did it have on the Black businesses and culture that thrive there?
And so by definition, I think, oftentimes you hear people talk about violence in New Orleans. Very often do you hear violence referred to in the ways of state violence and racist infrastructure. And by definition, that construction of that interstate through that community was violent. And you'll see when the marker is unveiled on Saturday, there's language that I fought to keep to emphasize just how violent that it was. Words like ravaged and destroyed. And so in doing so, I mean, the biggest thing is displacement. And I think that is so crucial to also understand in this present moment, and why we have to protect the Treme and the Seventh Ward, because we're seeing displacement again. And that's why it's so important to have, these physical memorializations, because we're doomed to repeat our history if we don't recognize what it once was.
Because when you think about it, I went to this healing event. I think it was put on by MSNBC. I can't remember the network that did it, but our former mayor was there. And Asali Ecclesiastes was also there. And this topic came up, because now there's conversation about removing the overpass, right? And for me, ravage is a very intentional word, because if you have these thriving Black businesses and this thriving Black community, and then you put a overpass through it, then now people don't have to they don't have to come into it, they can fly over it, right? And so that was intentional in terms of destroying the fabric of Black New Orleans, right? Because Treme is, just like you called the corridor, Treme is an artery of New Orleans. Everything that is historical, everything that is beautiful, everything that we love about New Orleans, you can find it in Treme at that time. And so for me, I think it's important that people understand the truth of why that overpass even went up, and not the truth about why they wanted to come down, because Treme looks vastly different than it did when it went up, right? And so the event that you're going to have, on the 7th?
Tomorrow.
You're going to have an event tomorrow. We're going to talk about the event. It includes a second line, a tradition deeply rooted in New Orleans culture. How does this celebration connect to the historical significance of Claiborne Avenue and the community's resilience? Let's talk about the event.
Well, 100 proceed to do a second line to lead veiled. Look, and they're in the same pattern as at those concrete columns, and that marker goes up. That used to be there.
Passion work, right? To have invested in making certain that we tell the history of this community is something to be very, very proud of. So thank you for what you do here. So can you talk to us about why it's important for New Orleans to not only acknowledge but actively memorialize its past, especially in relation to the Black community's contributions to this city?
I think it's about protecting Black spaces. We had a Black space. We still have a Black space. It looks vastly different from what it did before. And you got painted oak trees instead of the beautiful oak trees. And I wish my generation could have came up under, that canopy. But we are still under that bridge on any given day, but especially any given Sunday. And something that gives me chills, and I went to the second line last weekend, Black entrepreneurship is still under that bridge. And we still have some Black-owned businesses along Claiborne. And it's important to acknowledge the harm and the violence that was done, but also in holding on and recognizing through our history what we still have, and making it, you're more adamant to want to protect that.
And speaking of the significance of the oak trees and just trees in general, people who are visiting our communities or who are not native or indigenous to our communities don't understand the significance of sitting under the tree on a neutral ground, right? That's the thing. That's community building. Like any given day, you can drive down any corridor in New Orleans, and you're going to find some older black men set up shop underneath the tree.
I always say that's the real council meetings.
That's the real council meetings, right? That's where the real business is being had. And so if you're running for office, if you're trying to get an initiative out there, you need to go talk to the men sitting under the tree, because there's a wealth and breadth of knowledge that those men carry that you wouldn't even know they have, because you're ignoring them because they don't look like, you know, they fit into any space. But that is naturally New Orleans. So sitting under the tree, they playing dominoes, everybody bringing something. They have a real community underneath the tree on the neutral ground. Y'all gonna stay with us after the break?
Yes.
Listen, if you want to be in conversation with Mr. Keith or Miss Sierra, the number here is 504-582-9422. On the other side of the break, we're going to continue to talk about all things naturally New Orleans right here on WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
People's Health has a new Medicare plan designed for people with diabetes, chronic heart failure, or cardiovascular disorders. It features a monthly over-the-counter allowance, lower costs for a number of prescriptions, and lower specialist copays than non-special needs plans from People's Health. To learn more about a chronic special needs plan, call 1-844-663-2135. Plans are insured through United Healthcare Insurance Company or one of its affiliated companies, a Medicare Advantage organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in the plan depends on the plan's contract renewal with Medicare.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
New Orleans, get ready for Inspire Fest. Join us on December 7th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at McDonough 35 High School for a day of family, fun, music, and a chance to learn more about Inspire NOLA Schools, the highest performing open enrollment schools in the city. Enjoy live performances by Tanya Boyd Cannon, Brassaholics, and BJ So Cole. Bring the family, enjoy the entertainment, and see what makes Inspire NOLA different. Don't miss this unforgettable day. Find out more at inspirenolaschools.org.
This is Brandon Henry, IT Director for Equity Media, wishing everyone a happy and safe holidays from WBOK.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show right here on WBOK 1230 AM. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt, and my super producer, Nyron Sanders, is behind the glass holding us all together. But in conversation right now with us is Mr. Keith Plessy, president and co-founder of the Plessy and Ferguson initiative, as well as my girl Sierra Chenier, writer and historian, and she really, really cute, y'all. I don't know if y'all can see it, but take my word for it. Listen, if you want to be in conversation with these two superstars, the number here is 504-582-9422. Good morning, Larry. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. Hey, Larry.
Me being a person that grew up in Treme, in fact, I was born in the Lafitte Project on St. Peter, then we moved to Arlene Street, in Galvez, I spent my first 3 years at Joseph A. Craig. So I went into the I was about to go into the Air Force in 65, March. But the month before that, the National Football League, Professional Football League, wanted to do an all-star game down here in New Orleans because they were trying to showcase New Orleans as a city that could hold a professional football team like the Saints. They didn't have the Saints then. So the dudes came, most of the guys, the AFC played the NFC. Most of the AFC had HBCU football players, Grambling, Southern, on their team. So they wanted to, get these guys to get more attention so they could play professional football. They did. They played for the AFC. So when these guys came down here, and this is a tidbit on New Orleans history that I rarely hear sports people talk about. So they were, they came here. They came to the hotels. They decided to go in the French Quarters on Bourbon Street. They heard so much about it. When they got down here, the people on Bourbon Street, the bouncers, wouldn't let them in the places, like the strip clubs, whatever you want to call them then. So what they did, they packed up and was leaving. So they sent, I won't mention her name, somebody that was involved in New Orleans that was, he was somewhat of I guess you could say he was instrumental in New Orleans. He was somewhat a politician. Sent him over to the hotels to get them to stay in New Orleans because they was trying to showcase New Orleans as the place to be there for football team. They say no, they ran him. So they left. You know where the game was thrown at? In Houston. They had to move the game to Houston. I'm saying all this to say that we didn't have no idea about the French Quarters because most of us was dealing with downtown people with Claiborne because Claiborne had all kind of businesses, clubs, restaurants. So when we went out, we went to Claiborne, Orleans, all down the corridors. So when I went into the Air Force, I told myself, after experiencing and seeing what the football league had done, I said, I will never come back to this city. But I did. When I came back, I was on leave, and I seen these pilings on Claiborne Street. And what they're doing, they're building an overpass. But it was supposed to go parallel to the river by the French Quarters. But the powers that be, that was white, didn't want that. They said, well, let's go down Claiborne. That's how that thing was built. And they had help from certain black people in the city. And you know what they did with those oak trees? Most of those oak trees was replanted on these big, beautiful houses you see on the bayou there. So if you go down that bayou, you see them same oak trees that was on Claiborne. See, people, I call myself a living history. I heard your guest say he was born in 57, right?
Yes.
I was born in 46, so I'm making 78 Saturday. So, I got to see all this. I'm a living history, and nobody really talks about it. I don't think my host even know about what happened in 65. They rarely talk about it on the sports network. They never mentioned it, that they had to leave New Orleans because the bouncers and the people that didn't want us on Bourbon Street. And guess what? We never went on Bourbon Street or French Quarter. We didn't miss it because we had Claiborne. And it was beautiful. Oak trees, clubs, food, places to eat, everything you could imagine for the downtown people. Uptown people had a little different thing, but they came. So I just wanted to give y'all that tidbit because I'm a little older.
Thank you, Larry. You know I appreciate you as always, and happy birthday, too.
Thank you, darling.
Have a blessed one. Listen, that's the conversations that I'm talking about, Sierra, when you have walking historians, right, who can tell the stories, because he's right, I never heard that before. And those are the kind of things we need to immortalize, right? We need to put that somewhere so that we could continue to tell those sorts of stories, which brings me to these questions, right? So looking forward, looking beyond the event, what future initiatives do you envision for the Plessy and Ferguson initiatives and its partners to continue addressing historical inequalities and promoting racial healing in New Orleans?
Well, I would say this reconstruction project that we're working on now that resulted in 2 markers, one for Dorothy May Taylor and the one that we're going to put up tomorrow at Claiborne Avenue. The group that we assembled with community leaders, coalition leaders like Sierra Chanier. Am I saying that right?
Chanier.
Yeah, right. Okay.
See, I wrote it down phonetically.
I pronounced it wrong for a long time, and I apologize. But we're looking at the research and the documentation that we gathered throughout our meetings, about 8 meetings at the Jazz Market throughout the last year. This year, rather, resulted in a collaboration that I think is going to last for a lifetime. Every coalition leader that we met has some significance to the city and can contribute to improving the city. And we didn't realize we were walking on diamonds. You know, we like, when you look around for help, you might look outside New Orleans for help, but you got a lot of help right
Walking
here.
on diamonds. Listen, there's a wealth. New Orleans, listen, I have a friend that says, you know, talent in New Orleans is like bringing sand to the beach, right? Because everybody here has some sort of contribution that you don't know about unless you talk to them, like we were talking about the men under the tree. Mm-hmm. You go talk to those men, they can tell you stories and things that you've never heard, and you're wowed by it because they're walking vessels of information that you don't think to tap into because they're sitting under the tree drinking their beer. Relaxing. Mm-hmm. That's heaven for them, right? So, Sierra, what do you say to folk? Because in the comments we're talking about, there's conversation about under the bridge can be constructed such that it occupies a space like the French Market. We can clean it up, build an infrastructure of vendor booths and kitchens and restroom facilities to accommodate the culture, heavy on the culture. Mm-hmm. What do you think about an initiative like that where we can grow from just historical markers to making it a fiscal corridor, Black-owned businesses where people can congregate and actually have real community?
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I'm so grateful for the work of Claiborne Innovation District, Asali Divine Ecclesiastes, mm-hmm. Nairi Ramsey with Ujima, in putting forth that effort and cleaning up and leading these efforts to make the Under the Bridge more beautiful, and the beautiful paintings that have been commissioned, especially like at Orleans and Claiborne where we celebrate Black Carnival. So, you know, I think as a community, we have to support the efforts of the initiatives so that we can see, you know, that revitalization that we deserve.
So they're asking for you guys' contact information. Can you give them some contact information on both the Plessy and Ferguson initiatives and then y'all's information respectively? So you want to start with yours?
Yes, our website is plessyandferguson.org. If you want to know more about us, just go right to that website. We don't have a physical building. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're located in the office at Propeller, and we're going to be there to the end of this year because this project took us to the end of the year. That's when the project ends on the 15th of December, and by December 31st, we'll be clear out of Propeller if we don't decide to stay. You know, mm-hmm. we may establish an office there, but we're considering that now.
So as of right now, it's plessyandferguson.org.
plessyandferguson.org is our website.
And do you have a personal contact that you want to give to people, or is that how you want them to contact you?
Well, go through the website first, and then, you know, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
And what's your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram name?
I have not.
We're going to look it up for you, and we're going to share it with the folks.
I'm a 57 baby.
That's okay. My producer can get a hold of it for us, and I'll make sure that I speak it on air for you. And what about you? Any particular contact information, or can they go through PlessettandFerguson.org for you as well?
You can go find me at Ciara Chenier, CIERACHENIER, and also website by the same name, .com, CiaraChenier.com.
So she has a website, y'all, in her name. That's big business talking right there. So I'm going to ask you this. What do you see as the next step in New Orleans' journey of collective memory and racial healing, and how can the city build upon this moment before we have to let you go? How do we build from here? Historical markers down, right? Yes. We've done that. How do we move forward?
Keeping the people in their communities. We got to be here in order to talk about preserving culture and preserving history. We have to be here.
And what about you?
And
Mr.
I would
Keith?
say talking to your neighbors. I would start by your neighborhood. You know, before I could say when I grew up as a child in that neighborhood, it was considered a village. I mean, you couldn't walk to school without speaking to everybody along the way. And if you didn't, you got your tail busted. And, you know, there was a network in the community that was just natural. You know, you respected everybody. You know, respect and honor and discipline was part of the community. And if we don't take the time, if it's not your child, it's still your child. You know, you take the time to talk to those children. If you see them going in the wrong direction, to try to guide them in a different direction that would help them.
Listen, we have to get back to the neighborhood, y'all. And Ciara said we got to be here. It's no neighborhood without the people. So we want to thank Keith Plessy, president and co-founder of the Plessy and Ferguson Initiative, as well as Ciara Chenier, writer and historian, talking about this huge event tomorrow to put a historical marker down to immortalize all of the entrepreneur spirits that have come and gone through the city of New Orleans, but we want to keep their memories alive, and we want to make new memories and want to commemorate everything that we've done now and forevermore. So thank y'all for being here. Stay with us on the other side of the break. At the 8:20 hour, we're going to talk to Congressman Benny Thompson and Congressman Cleo Fields. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Mitt Romney is ending a 6-year Senate term. In his farewell address, he reflected on his tenure and bipartisan successes. Romney, the 2012 Republican presidential nominee, was elected to represent Utah in 2018. Airline executives faced tough questions from senators about high prices and extra fees. Lawmakers criticized the additional costs for bags and seat choices, calling them junk charges and accusing airlines of hidden fees. The Supreme Court seems likely to uphold Tennessee's ban on transgender care for minors. Legal experts say the conservative majority may let the law stand, leaving future debates to state legislatures. And a Wallet Hub survey shows men are nearly 80% more likely than women to have financial secrets, such as large purchases, savings, debt, or job status. A quarter of people lie about money regularly, and over 10% view financial infidelity as worse than physical or emotional infidelity. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
New Schools for New Orleans wants to send a huge congratulations to all of our educators, students, and families of New Orleans for their continuous academic growth. School performance scores have been released from the state. For the first time in many years, there are no failing schools in New Orleans Public Schools. As a district, our performance increased by 4 points. In addition, Orleans Parish now exceeds pre-COVID school performance score for all students by 6.2 points. When you see a teacher, school leader, or student, be sure to show them some love.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt, and my super producer, Nyron Sanders, is also in the building. I want to thank our guest, Keith Plessy, the president and co-founder of the Plessy and Ferguson Initiative, as well as Ciara Chenier, writer and historian. They were here to talk about the December 7th event of Reconstructing Reconstruction, placing a historical marker underneath the Claiborne Overpass at Claiborne Avenue and St. Bernard Avenue to honor the incredible Black entrepreneur hotspot that was Claiborne Avenue. And listen, I think it's so vital and so important that our history is immortalized in a way that our children can learn from it. You know, with all of this dismissing of books and censoring and whitewashing history, we have to talk to our walking historians and get those stories and pass them down from generation to generation so that who we are, what we've done in our contributions to this community can never die, because there'll be always someone to tell the story as it happened and not the way that people want to wipe it away or wash it away or censor it. So thank you to Keith Plessy and Ciara Chenier for the work that they do to keep the history of the city of New Orleans alive and thriving. So thank you. And I also want to thank our callers. You know, we have walking historians who listen every single day to WBOK, and they have a wealth and breadth of knowledge, and they're enlightening us every single day. I know I learn something new every day sitting here as your host. So thank you to our callers. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you for the comments on the site. It's always a good time here at WBOK. When we get to hear from our guests and to be educated by our listeners as well. But once again, at the 8:20 hour, we're going to talk to Congressman Benny Thompson and Congressman Cleo Fields, talking about the cultural significance of HBCU football. This feature offers a unique angle on how politics, school pride, and sports intersect in a way that engages fans and communities alike. So I'm excited about that 8:20 hour. As an athlete myself, y'all know I'm an athlete. I love all things sports. I can talk about sports all day, every day with anybody. And I love this idea of magnifying the impact and significance of HBCU culture all around the board. So I'm excited about the 8:20 hour as well. But we're going to pivot for a second, y'all. I was reading a story yesterday, and then I listened to some of the congressional hearing that was going on about the airlines and how they're making billions charging what is considered junk fees per the congressional reports. And there was an entire conversation with the CEOs and the head honchos of Frontier Airlines, Spirit Airlines, and it was at the Senate subcommittee, and there was an investigation about how these airlines are incentivizing their gate agents to put additional fees on passengers so that they can get an additional $10. So every time a gate agent told you that your bag was too big or your bag didn't fit in terms of a carry-on or it weighed too much, they were being paid $10 to do that. And the airlines were making multi-millions of dollars in these extra fees. It says from 2018 to 2023, 5 U.S. airlines made more than $12 billion on seat selection fees alone and unbundled costs that used to be included as part of an airline ticket. So choosing a seat was once a part of your airline ticket fee. Now that they've taken it away from the bundle of buying your ticket, it's a standalone thing that you have to now pay additional fees for. So from 2018 to 2023, just in seat section fees alone, the airlines made $12 billion. The report from the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations said that in 2023, United Airlines charged as much as $319 for an extra legroom seat. Spirit Airlines charged as much as $299. Delta Airlines charged as much as $264. Frontier Airlines charged $141, and American Airlines charged as much as $140 on extra legroom seat. Seat fees have grown more expensive and far-reaching. These 5 airlines charge passengers extra for additional legroom, aisle, and window seats, or even selecting a seat in advance, compelling parents with minor children to pay to sit together. I think that, to live in a country where everything is capitalistic, everything is about putting additional fees and expenses on an already suffocating demographic of people, like we're already struggling to make ends meet. And then you're trying to do something as mundane as travel, and you have all of these hidden fees. And meanwhile, these big executives are making multi-millions of dollars in bonuses, and these companies are making billions of dollars in revenues, and we're robbing Peter and still can't pay Paul. It's really sickening what's happening. It says the report detailed measures some airlines took to ensure passengers pay for carry-on bags. It stated that ultra-low-cost carriers like Frontier and Spirit shelled out $26 million in incentives to spur agents in 2022 and 2023 to catch passengers allegedly not following airline bag policies, often forcing these passengers to pay a bag fee or miss their flight. Frontier personnel can earn as much as $10 for each bag a passenger is forced to check at the gate, the report said. One Frontier official told the subcommittee that bag policy enforcement was necessary because the airline does not want customers to be taking more or stealing from the airline. Frontier acknowledged the practice in a statement to CNN, saying, "The Commission for Gate Agents is simply designed to incentivize our team members to ensure compliance with bag size requirements so that all customers are treated equally and fairly, including the majority who comply with the rules," the statement said. Listen, if you don't see a connectivity between this conversation we're having today and the conversation we had yesterday about the murder of the United Healthcare CEO, if you don't see the connections, I want you to start to pay more attention, because all of these big executives at all of these companies who are passing fees down to the regular, everyday working person, exorbitant fees, they're pricing us out of being able to afford things like airline tickets and health care. But they're taking home these astronomical bonuses, and folk can't even afford to have a primary care physician, or people are being denied coverage for things that ought to be covered. I think about the high cost of homeowners insurance, the high cost to insure your vehicle. Everything has a cost, and all of these executives are taking home just it almost feels like illegal sums of money, and everyday people are struggling. And then you have executives incentivizing other everyday working people to put additional costs on everyday working people while they're living high on the hog. It's just, it's literally the fabric of this country. Everything is about greed and having more than you could ever spend in a lifetime while the majority of people struggle. This whole entire country needs a rebranding, a purge of this idea of hoarding resources and hoarding money and you know, having the haves and the have-nots. We have to get rid of that entire way of thinking. We have to get rid of that entire way of living. Like, you shouldn't work all your life to die poor, or work all your life to live the last 10 years of your life trying to take advantage of the 50 years you've worked. There's an imbalance there. There's an imbalance there. And so, you know, I don't know about you, but I see some connectivity between all of these conversations, and I don't think it's happenstance that they're happening simultaneously with all of this greed, right? We even see it in the cabinet picks for the president-elect. All he's doing is rewarding people who have blind loyalty to him, who are going to ensure that the wealthy stay wealthy and the poor stay poor, who are going to ensure that white supremacy lives and thrives while folk continue, to be oppressed. That's what we're seeing with these cabinet picks, because there's no other reason to appoint someone like a Ron DeSantis to anything, let alone to run the Pentagon. There's no other reason for it. And I can't continue to stress enough how important it is to do your civic duty in your local elections, because you may not be able to touch what is happening on the federal level with the federal government, but you can actually touch what is happening on your local level in terms of who your local representation is, who your school board members are, what amendments get passed, who's your next mayor, right? You can touch that. You have a say in that. You know, and so for me, I want us to start to look at the connectivity of these stories. You know, it might seem like it's strange to have a person resort to violence in order to be heard. But you have to ask yourself, what could push a person to the brink of jeopardizing not only their freedom, but their very life? I don't know what it would take to push a person to that extreme, but I know it has to be something extreme to make you trade your freedom and ultimately your life for what you consider to be your last desperate act. It is crazy to think about healthcare executives with $30 million bonuses and families trying to decide if they could pay the copay or if they could create something at home to heal their illness, because they can't afford the copay to go to the doctor. They can't afford that emergency room bill. They can't afford to pay for their medication, so they're borrowing pills from a friend. Like, it's really sick here. You know, and for me, we have to start thinking about that. Good morning, Brother Sims. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. I just want to say that I'm 71 years old and I'm retired civil sheriff in New Orleans, and on the parole board with the late Kathleen Blanco. She appointed me for 8 years. And you are right. I'm upset because, and I'm a black man, and I stay in the hood. I'm a 71 graduate of Booker T. Washington. I'm looking at these Trumpers, and I'm trying to figure out how black men be talking about, man, he gonna do this for us and do that for us. Look what he's doing. He's rewarding people that don't have a clue of the position, you know, and he just reward them for so-called loyalty, but they're racist. You know, we didn't show up, and the men that chauvinist and talk about Thomas, I got problems with them. You know, if I could whip their behind, I would, because they stupid. They act stupid, and some of the ones I'm talking about, we done had conversations, and some of my family members, and if they don't like it, they can kiss my behind, pardon my expression. But you are telling the truth. There's too much going on, and what happens is I'm not rewarding of violence, but sometimes there are people out here that feel helpless. They don't have nothing to do. Their voice is not being heard, and they feel left out. So I just want to say thank you for letting me have my comment, and I know you're on the right track. Keep up the good work. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Brother Mims. Have a great one. Listen, this conversation is also crucial, and I want to continue to have it. But I also want to remind you about the Worship Live event that is happening, featuring Fred Hammond, James Fortune, Todd Delaney, and Smokey Norfolk today, December 6th, at Franklin Avenue Baptist Church. And thanks to Pastor Kenneth Davis, they're giving away 4 tickets. And if you want one, we just need you to call in and tell us that you would like to attend the event. We're going to give away 4 tickets to the Worship Live event, thanks to Pastor Kenneth Davis. The event is featuring Fred Hammond, James Fortune, Todd Delaney, and Smokey Norfolk. It's happening today, December 6th, at Franklin Avenue Baptist Church. But on the other side of the break, we're going to have conversations with Congressman Benny Thompson and Congressman Cleo Fields about the importance of HBCU football and the legacy of pride, and how sports intersect in ways that engages fans and communities alike. So stay with us right here on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM with New Orleans.
Trying to grow your business or increase traffic to your location? We can help. WBOK 1230 AM has a number of solutions that will meet your individual needs. Give one of our consultants a call today at 504-582-9420 or email us at info@wbok1230.com. And remember, an investment with WBOK is an investment in our community. Call today.
Good morning and happy Friday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. It is a cold start to the day, prompting New Orleans to activate its citywide freeze plan. Officials have opened shelters so the unhoused population have a warm place to stay. Those shelters are open through 6 p.m. Monday, accepting anyone who needs a roof over their head. And happening today, Orleans Parish officials will inspect voting machines ahead of tomorrow's congressional general election. They will then be moved to polling locations across the city. Some races on the ballot this go-around include several constitutional amendments, an Orleans Parish School Board runoff race, a meet mayor, and council seats in Bogalusa. The polls are open tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the wait is almost over for the 3rd annual Children's Hospital Holiday Parade. This year's celebration will feature a longer route, 30 floats, high-flying balloons, and so much more. The fun gets rolling at 11 a.m., and if you can't make it down to the parade route, you can watch all of the action live on WDSU starting at 10:30 a.m. Then Saturday night, consider crossing the river to Algiers Point, where a 30-foot bonfire made from 6 tons of wood will burn bright. Families are invited to stop by from 4:30 to 8 p.m. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day and an even better weekend.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
Metropolitan Human Services District wants to remind you that treatment is effective and everyone can recover. If you are looking for a recovery program and you live in the Orleans, St. Bernard, or Plaquemines Parish, visit mhsdla.org or call 504-568-3130. Recovery is possible, and MHSD is here to help. Metropolitan Human Services District, where we change lives.
Hi, this is Congressman Troy Carter. I ask that you join me in voting for Eric Doc Jones for Orleans Parish School Board District 2. Eric Doc Jones is a career educator with whom I've had the pleasure of working together on many issues of importance for our community and is ready to serve as our next school board member on day one. I proudly endorse Eric Doc Jones for Orleans Parish School Board District 2. Eric Doc Jones is number 12 on the ballot.
Paid for by the committee to elect Eric Doc Jones.
This is Eddie Francis, your friendly neighborhood WBOK fill-in. Happy holidays to you and yours. Don't eat too much, just enough.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
We are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. We're getting ready to jump into conversation with Congressman Benny Thompson and Congressman Cleo Fields. The two congressmen have issued a spirited challenge, each rooting for their alma mater as Jackson State University and Southern University face off at JSU for the coveted title. This story captures the heart of the SWAC rivalry, highlighting how the congressman's friendly wager reflects their deep pride in their HBCU roots and districts. It's more than just a game. It's about community, legacy, and cultural significance of HBCU football. This feature offers a unique angle on how politics, school pride, and sports intersect in a way that engages fans and communities alike. Shout out to Yasmin Brown for that clip. And welcome to the Good Morning Show, Congressman Benny Thompson and Congressman Cleo Fields.
Good to be with you.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm well.
So we have a friendly wager going on, huh?
Yes, I'm looking forward to the game too.
So, Congressman Thompson, your alma mater, Jackson State University, is facing off against Southern University in the 2024 SWAC Championship. Can you talk about what this rivalry means to you personally and to the community in Mississippi?
Well, first of all, let me say that there's nothing like SWAC football. There's nothing like going to a SWAC game, the energy and excitement that goes with it, the bands, the beautiful ladies who march in front of the bands. The energy, as I said, is unreal. And the two most talented bands will be performing, but also the schools where the pride for the people who participate in the stands. You know, there's nothing like being in the stand for Jackson State, making faces at the folk on the other side at Southern. And, you know, Southern are notorious for coming to town 2 days before the game. They hang out. They do all kind of stuff. And that's what HBCU SWAC football is all about. But it's also about showing our young boys and girls that there's nothing wrong with that HBCU education. And for most of us, it was that HBCU education or nothing back in the day. So that's why Congressman Fields and myself are so committed, because there was a time when it was only that HBCU school that you could go to if you wanted to get an education. So there's some history with this rivalry also.
Absolutely. And so, look, fun fact, I went to Alabama State University on a full volleyball scholarship in 1999.
Have mercy. Well, third best ain't bad.
Listen, don't start no stuff won't be no stuff, not Congressman.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, look, it's exciting.
It is.
There are a lot of people who are talking about coming to town. Jackson State has the highest attendance of any SWAC school, but Southern is number 2. So we have the number 1 and number 2 attended sporting event schools clashing, and the rivalry is real. And look, I invite all the people to come by my tailgate. We will have enough for you to come. We actually cook better gumbo in Mississippi than people do in Louisiana.
Now, see, we're going to have to cut his mic now, Congressman. Congressman Fields, we're going to have to cut his mic because there ain't no sense in the nonsense now.
Yeah, they can fry some catfish, but that's about it.
That's about it. So, Congressman Fields, Southern University is facing a tough opponent in Jackson State University. What does this rivalry mean to you, and how does it reflect your pride in Southern University and the people of Louisiana?
Well, in 1980, I became freshman class president, and in 84, I became the president of the student body at Southern. Southern has just always been a great inspiration to me, and the game is a great opportunity for two very good schools to get together on a national stage and just basically talk about the HBCU experience on commercials and things of that nature. I'm excited. I just think Southern University, we learn from our mistakes. We've played Jackson State before, and we know them now for this season. And we're not going to go to Mississippi and lose a second time. So I think the Jags are pumped up. They're ready to go and win the SWAC championship. Everybody in Louisiana has voted early who's planning to go to the game. And I just think we're going to go there and do a very good job. And it's not just the football team. We're going to win that one. But we're also going to win, the band competition. We have one of the best bands in the absolute nation. And Southern's band is prepared for the test. And I just think this weekend is going to be a great weekend. And obviously for both schools. I mean, Benny and I, we got this little wager going on, but we both sincerely love HBCUs because we're products of them. And we have to do everything we can do within our power to protect and defend them.
Absolutely. So, Congressman Thompson, HBCUs play such an important role in shaping communities. How do you think football and school pride contribute to the broader sense of identity and unity within your district?
Well, there's no question about it. Athletics in general at HBCUs, in a lot of instances, is one of the tools for recruiting. But also, once we get our students to come to the HBCUs, it's also the academics, it's the overall experience. And for somebody like Benny Thompson or Cleo Fields, it was the beginning of a long-standing career of identifying who we are and whose we are. So we're never confused as to why we are elected officials. We're not confused about who sent us to represent, and we're not the least bit hesitant to advocate on behalf of those institutions because other institutions have their advocates, so why shouldn't HBCUs have their advocates? Politics is absolutely how we keep these institutions open. So nothing better for Southern or Jackson State to have graduates of those institutions to carry that mantle forward. And so it's exciting for us. This is where you wear your pride in your sweaters, in your jackets, in everything on tomorrow. But more importantly, it's what those institutions stand for. And I'm so excited about these two institutions. But I do have a few facts I'd like to brag on. There are more professional athletes who played football who've gone to Jackson State than any other institution. But, number two is Southern. Look, we in this together, but also it's a game. And so I promise you, we've checked the weather forecast for tomorrow. It'll be a little breezy, but no rain. And please come. The traffic will be heavy, but it'll be orderly, and that's what you want. The stadium holds 62,500 persons. We'd love to fill it up, and it would do our hearts for those institutions to receive the financial reward for that kind of attendance, because it's also about making sure our institutions can survive. Athletics cost a lot of money. These kinds of events put on by the SWAC conference still require significant investment. But if people come, that investment is returned. So I'm excited about it. I would love for this wager of Louisiana shrimp. Cleo, when you come to the game, bring me my shrimp. I'll have the catfish, but if you won't, I'll even cook it for you.
So, Congressman Fields, you can't listen. You can't argue with that little wager right there. But how do you view the role of sports, particularly HBCU football, in shaping the legacies of historically Black colleges and universities, and in building a sense of unity in your district, Congressman Fields?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember when I was young and watching Doug Williams from Grambling State University actually play in the Super Bowl. And he was the first Black quarterback to win a Super Bowl. And let me just tell you, that was, I think, every Black family when Doug went down with that football, and everybody thought he was out for the rest of the game. I think every Black family in America just went on their knees and prayed, and Doug got up and finished through I think, a couple of touchdowns. And then, I mean, everybody understood that Black college football meant something to Black colleges. And I really think, Doug was one of the ones that really put us on that national stage. There were a lot of great athletes that came through HBCUs before Doug Williams, no doubt. But from my perspective, it was that magical moment where everybody kind of zeroed in on the talent that we have in our Black colleges, and kudos to Grambling, and to Eddie, Robinson for producing such great athletes. It matters. I mean, actually, students go to school not, first for education, but they also want to have that college experience, with a football team and a band. And I just think the HBC, the SWAC schools in particular, has done a very good job in just emphasizing the academics with the athletics, and I think that's good. And I think it has played a monumental role over the years.
So, Congressman Fields, our WBOK listening audience says you letting Congressman Thompson get a little too braggadocious on these airwaves. They say loosen your tie and make this a real rivalry. Now he talking about catfish and whatnot and how they gonna bring the trophy. What you say to that? You going in at a win, huh?
Yeah, well, people talk a lot. There are a lot of people who talk a lot, and Jackson State has a history of talking loud and a lot. Southern is more of they go in very gentlemanly, and they have learned from their mistakes. We lost to Jackson State earlier in the season. The coaching staff is ready. The team is ready. And we're going to go to Jackson, and we're going to show them what we're really made of. And guess what, Benny? I'm not bringing the shrimp. You just have the catfish. I'm going to have somebody to bring you the shrimp. But I don't think that's going to be necessary. I think there are going to be some big surprises in Jackson State, and I just can't wait to see the Jaguars learn from their mistake and show everybody in Jackson that they're a real team. And it's not just the team. Benny, he was very hesitant about betting on the band as well. But I think both the band and the team is going to do an exceptional job. But look, I don't want to take anything away from Jackson State.
Don't get too big for your britches, Congress. So we not through yet. We can always, I understand Southern's band. Look, you do all right. And facts about it, if it were not for Jackson State band, you'd have the number one band in the SWAC.
Now, Congressman Thompson, listen, hold on now. Now, I don't know if Congressman Cleo Fields remembers who I am, but let me remind him. I spoke before the Senate Education Committee, Congressman Fields, and at the time when I spoke, after I finished speaking, you said if you were ever in trouble, you would hire me, and it sounds like you're in trouble now. You want to tap me into this?
Who you are. That's right.
Look, let me tell you, part of SWAC, HBCU, athletics, and academics is to build that pride in the individuals who attend so that they can carry forward.
Absolutely.
Part of recruitment is letting people know I love those schools. And for me, Walter Payton set the high water mark at Jackson State. We call him Sweetness. Mm-hmm. And he was number 34 for the Chicago Bears. Set every kind of record you could. So both our states have produced stellar athletes. But also we have produced, for instance, I can tell you that when I grew up as a child in Mississippi, the only doctors that I knew had gone to HBCUs because they couldn't go to any other school. The only lawyers I knew in the community had gone to HBCUs. So there's a rich legacy for our HBCUs all over America. And that's why Cleo and I are so passionate about making sure that not only do they remain open, but they remain vibrant and have the necessary curriculum offerings that attract our students. Because, other schools are competing for our students just like the HBCUs. So we have to make sure that, to the extent practicable, they're doing all they can to make sure that those students can come. But it's all hands on deck. And I'll confess, I wanted my granddaughter to go to Tougaloo College, which is an HBCU in Mississippi, and she went to Xavier University.
XU.
Look, and I promise you, I have nothing but good things to say about that 4-year Xavier experience that my granddaughter received.
Absolutely.
So I didn't get her to my HBCU, but she got to Xavier, and Xavier put her on a path, and that's what it's all about. So look, if I can't get you at my school, as long as I can get you somewhere else, then we still win.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Congressman Fields, this rivalry is not only about football, but it also is the intersection of politics and community pride. How do you see your political platform influencing and supporting HBCU culture and sports in general?
Well, it has always influenced. These games have always influenced my attitude about my commitment to Southern and Grambling and HBCUs in general. And it's reflected in what I've done as a legislator. I mean, and listen, like these kinds of gains, it actually makes my job easier. And that's why we were able to bring record dollars this past legislative session to both Southern and Grambling. Southern and Grambling got a increase in their budget overall. And Southern, I know it's right off my head, $200 million in appropriations for new things. That was a all fixed and putting top of that. We've changed now. Now we are building, new buildings. Southern University is about to build a new laboratory school at the tune of $72 million. I mean, that's a very good thing. A brand new business school, a brand new STEM building. Those kind of things. I mean, Grambling State University has a state-of-the-art, library, and those are the kind of things that, members of the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus have been pushing for our HBCUs, and that's, those gains like this, because they are going to be showcased. Southern will be showcased on a national stage. Jackson State will be showcased on a national stage. And those folk who are so excited about football, just perhaps they're going to see a little commercial and it's going to see what we really do at these schools, and that is educate young minds and make them future doctors, lawyers, engineers, computer scientists, and even future congressmen, Bennett Thompson. So, it's just a great thing for both schools.
So listen, Congressman, can y'all stay with us on the other side of the break?
I have to go. I'm sorry, but...
Oh, no worries. If you have to go, you have to go. Well, listen, let me thank you right now since you guys have to go. We want to thank Congressman Benny Thompson and Congressman Cleo Fields for sharing part of their morning with us. We appreciate you and our listening audience in the chat. They also wanted me to thank you for your service in Congress, both Congressman Benny Thompson and Congressman Cleo Fields. So thank you for sharing part of your morning with us. And as you know, right here in New Orleans, we supporting Southern Jaguars in this rivalry, right. Benny. But don't take it personal.
Yeah. Well,
but we still want some catfish.
And don't you take it personally on your way back home.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much. Y'all have a wonderful morning.
All right.
Take care.
Good talking to you.
Absolutely. Listen, we have to go to break, y'all, but we're going to talk more about this topic, and we're going to get y'all to tell us who y'all think going to win this SWAC rivalry, Jackson State or Southern. We also want to talk about who's going to win that band competition, so stay with us right here on the other side of the break. WBOK 3 a.m. what New Orleans is talking about.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep
both Medicare and Medicaid. With the People's Health Medicare Advantage Plan, you could get up to $280 per month to spend on utilities, healthy groceries, and over-the-counter items. $280 per month. Don't miss out on these extra benefits. Call 1-844-663-2135. Plans are insured through United Healthcare Insurance Company or one of its affiliated companies, a Medicare Advantage organization with a Medicare contract and a contract with the state Medicaid program. Enrollment in the plan depends on the plan's contract renewal with Medicare.
Delgado Community College offers programs in business, technology, health sciences, and the arts with over 100 career-focused degrees and certificates that are affordable, flexible, and transferable. We can give you the knowledge and skills to succeed. Delgado is a great fit if you're starting your post-high school education, or we can help you advance or change your career. Take a step toward being unstoppable at Delgado Community College. Visit dcc.edu to learn more today.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Hello, WBOK listening audience. This is Pastor Robert Tanner of the Community Church of River Ridge, Louisiana, inviting you to tune in to our Sunday morning broadcast at 10 a.m. every Sunday morning right here on WBOK 1230 AM. That's Community Church with Pastor Robert Tanner every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on WBOK 1230.
My name is Caleb Henry. And I'm Eli Henry. On behalf of the Henry family and Equity Media, we want to wish everyone a happy holiday.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer, Nyron Sanders, is in the building holding us down. But guess what, y'all? Our GM is back. Welcome back. Welcome back, Justin. He was under the weather, but, you know, he's feeling a lot better. So thank God for that. We also want to thank our congressmen for spending part of their morning with us, Congressman Benny Thompson out of Mississippi and Congressman Cleo Fields right here out of the great state of Louisiana. They were talking to us about all things HBCU, pride, football, and politics. Listen, Congressman Benny Thompson, I ain't want to tell it to your face or nothing because I ain't want to be rude, but you don't come in nobody's house talking no trash and I'd expect to get trash talk back to you. The congressman should have tagged me into the ring and I'd have let you have it because we will not let people from Mississippi come up in our house and start rearranging furniture. Southern better not go up there and lose. They better not. They better win the game and they better win the battle of the bands. And you got to give my congressman his fried catfish when you lose this friendly wager. So that's what we need to do. We need to make certain that Southern Jaguars go handle their business up there at the SWAC championship and bring that trophy back down to the boot. That's the objective. And Congressman Cleo Fields going to have bragging rights for the rest of the year, as well as some really good catfish out of Mississippi. Miss Alicia was in the chat saying, look, Congressman Fields, you need to loosen your tie. You being too much of a gentleman. He coming up here talking all that trash. But like I told him, ain't no sense in nonsense. Talking crazy. He ain't want to bet on that band because he knew that was a fool's bet. So he's hoping that the football team can do something that the band cannot. So we go, and Josh showed crazy stuff. Josh said Sonic Boomless. You know, Josh plays too much in the comments all the time. But the conversation was really, really good, and I think it's really good for HBCU culture to see congressmen so enthralled in the conversation around athletics and academics and making certain that we put our HBCUs on the pedestal that they deserve. So shout out to Congressman Cleo Fields for making certain that the allocation of funding is making its way to our schools for beautification of not only that campus, but to make certain that there's funding there to push any initiative forward at our local HBCUs. And shout out to Congressman Benny Thompson for wanting his granddaughter to go to Tougaloo, but for her having all the sense in the world to attend the Xavier University of Louisiana. So shout out to your granddaughter as well. Miss Alicia say, Doc, you are a mess. Congressman Phil should have tagged you in. He so should have. He act like he never watched wrestling before. You know when you getting toe up, you put your hand out there and they tag you in and you get in the ring. He ain't never watched SmackDown. Like, he was being way too polite. And Congressman Benny Thompson came with it on his mind. He was talking that cash money stuff. We had to say, not too much on my congressman now. I didn't know the people out of Mississippi know how to give it to you like that. But listen, I still want some fish. Might not be no catfish. I don't want that. But I take some fish out of Mississippi. I don't want no catfish though. So yeah, this morning has been a really, really dope morning. We got to have conversations about the Plessy and Ferguson initiative with Keith Plessy and Sierra Chenier. She's a writer and historian. They were talking about how they're going to place that marker at the Claiborne overpass at Claiborne and St. Bernard Avenues. It's really an historical thing. They've been doing their thing with making certain that our history is not forgotten. We then jumped into a conversation with both of our congressmen, our neighbor in Mississippi and our Congressman Cleo Fields, talking about community, legacy, and the cultural significance of HBCU football. And as y'all heard me say yesterday on this air, if we do more to make our facilities better and make our institutions better, we will attract our talent back to our schools, because at one time our talent couldn't go anywhere but HBCUs. And now they're being lured away with big ticket NIL deals and, you know, the allure of big campuses and big fan bases. But I would venture to say that if we did everything that we can do to make our HBCUs just as attractive, we will lure our kids back to our facilities, which will then lure the best coaches, which will then allure the eyes that are needed to make certain that the funding source is there. And so I want all kids to have an opportunity to showcase their talent and to not have to pay for school. But I would love for it if that happens at our institutions where our humanities are valued, where they see more than just somebody to run a football or catch a football, but they see a person who after football has to also thrive, whether that's on a NFL field or whether that is in the workforce or as some sort of analyst for sports. But our children deserve multiple pathways. Our children deserve multiple opportunities to not only succeed athletically, but to succeed academically. And so for me, I will always hope and pray that our institutions become the main attractions so that our children don't have to venture off into unknown spaces or unwelcoming spaces simply to get their educations paid for and to showcase their talent on the biggest stages. And that starts with high school football. And as you know, I am a very proud alum of the University of Edna Karr, and we have a huge playoff game tonight against Baton Rouge Catholic in the Jungle. If you are not doing anything and you want to watch the Cougars do what they do, y'all go over there to Morris FX Jeff Stadium and support the community of Edna Karr. I also know that John Curtis is also in a playoff game as well. I believe they're playing Acadiana. Do not quote me, but I believe that that's the school that they're playing. And as I said earlier, I'm a New Orleans girl. So anytime there's a New Orleans school vying for an opportunity to play for a state championship, that is the school that I'm going to support. I cannot, in good conscience, ever say that I'm going to support John Curtis at this moment because my Cougars are still in contention. As long as they are, that is where my hearts and my support will be. So shout out to the Big Purple and the Big Gold of Edna Karr High School in their playoff run. They call it the Free Smoke Tour. The Free Smoke Tour continues tonight in the Jungle, Morris FX Jeff Stadium, tonight, 7 p.m. If you're not doing anything, go out there and support those kids and make certain that we can bring that championship trophy back to 4,400. So listen, It's been a dynamic show. I'm excited. I'm even excited about the SWAC championship. My bonus son, Rodney Johnson, he's one of my son's best friends, so I call him my bonus son. He's number 0. He plays the safety position for Southern University. Big shout out to Rodney Johnson. I'm going to be supporting Southern for that reason. That reason alone for me. That's my kid out there. I want him to do well. He's a graduate of Edna Carr. He wears number 0 for Southern. So shout out to Rodney Johnson. Hopefully you could bring the trophy back home to the boot. I also want to give a shout out to my niece, Anais. She was in the comments saying, hey, auntie. So I'm on the mic saying, hey, niece. I'm glad you're listening. I'm glad your mom is listening. Shout out to my sorors of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Her mother is a soror of mine. So listen, I love it here. I don't know if y'all can tell, but I love it here. Who would have thunk it, right? I love it here. I get up every morning excited to talk about all of the headlines, whether locally or nationally. Talk about a little bit of sports. Have a little fun with it, too. I love it here, and I appreciate the opportunity afforded to me by the ownership of WBOK. So thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it. But please do not forget, tomorrow is election day. Oh, yeah, Josh wants me to remind y'all that if y'all go into the games tonight, to dress warm, cover your toes up, put some gloves on your hands, but stay right here with us, where I'm going to invite you to the front porch where Graylin and Kimber. But please do not forget to vote. Tomorrow's election day. If you get in a line before the time, stay in the line. You're authorized to vote. 4 amendments on the ballot. Crucial, vital school board race on the ballot. Get up, get out, and exercise your civic duty. Until next week, I am Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. This is the Good Morning Show on WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about. See y'all Monday.